What's up everybody? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Steph, also known as the freckled one. Today's video is really exciting because it is a battle of the brands. We are going to be doing a full face of Kosas and a full face of Ilia. And we're going to see how those products perform against each other. So the no makeup look has become increasingly popular over the last couple of years, and the clean beauty space alongside that has become even more accessible, inclusive, and refined. Luckily, I love both of those things, and Kosas and Ilia are definitely front runners in both of those markets right now. I'm currently wearing a combination of products from both brands, but you'll have to stay tuned to the end of this video to find out exactly which products worked for me and which ones were kind of disastrous. I'm going to keep this intro short and sweet because this is going to be a more lengthy, thorough video that's going to talk about products from both brands and compare. We're going to look at concealer, foundation, blush, bronzer, and highlighter. We'll start with a full face of Kosas and a wear test, and then we'll go into a full face of Ilia and wear test. In case you want to jump to any specific point in the video, the timestamps will be linked in the description box below. Without further ado, let's get into the wear test. So I'm going to be using 4 Kosas products today. Products that I already had were the Tropic Equinox Color and Light Cream Palette. If you've seen one of my other videos, I believe I used this, and I also have the concealer in the shade 5.5. So I'm very familiar with both of these products already, but what I haven't used is the Sunshow Moisturizing Baked Bronzer, which is, I think, their newest launch. And then something that they're known for is the Tinted Face Oil. So these are gonna be my new experiences today. I did try this for a couple of hours the other day just to make sure I was a shade match. So I've learned a little bit from that little experience. I'm curious to see how all of these really creamy products hold up in Los Angeles summer weather. So my face is already prepped and cleaned. I've cleansed it, and then I also applied the Herbivore Phoenix face oil as a moisturizer, and I only did that because I've seen other creators, content creators, review this product. Something that they found is that the oil doesn't mix well with their water-based moisturizer. You could actually see it pill up on camera in some instances, and so to avoid that, I used a face oil to moisturize today, which isn't completely out of the ordinary. I guess I'm gonna start with the face oil. Give it a good shake. I know that a little bit goes a long way. I'll use a brush on this side, and I'm going to use my sponge on this side. So where I use the most coverage is just kind of right here. I'm going to use my sponge and just kind of start blending that in. It's a pretty darn good shade match for me. I'm using this shade 06. And right off the bat, it feels really nourishing and moisturizing. If you're someone with really dry skin, this is something that you would probably like. And, you know, really radiant, dewy finish. Looks really natural. And it almost looks like there's just really nothing on my skin right now. This is the side with product. And this side has no product. Ooh, a little too much. It just feels so hydrating, really lightweight. And naturally, you know, my face is a lot darker than my neck, but this is a much better match to my arm. My face does feel really tacky. It also feels like when I touch it, a lot of sheen comes off. It's not the pigment, but it's the oil, I think, the carrier oil that the tint uses. Definitely a light to medium coverage. I mean, I think my skin looks actually fantastic, but because it's so radiant and moisturizing, my main concern would be that you know, after spending $42 on this, it doesn't last all day. I do want to set one side of my face to see how that lasts. I'm going to go in with my trusty concealer, and I use this all the time. I really, really do love it. Between sponge or brush, it didn't really seem to make a difference entirely on me. It looked like my sponge potentially soaked up a little bit less product, whereas the brush definitely has a little more product soaked in. I love this concealer because it's so hydrating, and underneath my eyes especially, I refuse to use a concealer that will dry them out. I would say that it's medium coverage, but definitely buildable to full if that's something that you want. It's the perfect amount of coverage for me. I just like brightening the center of my face. I think that looks really good and healthy and natural so far. I think I'm gonna set my face, and mostly just my T-zone because that's where I get the most oily. Unfortunately, Kosas does not have a powder, so what I'm going to do is use my Charlotte Tilbury powder in the shade 2 medium, and just really little because I do love how this looks. And since I actually haven't set this, I think I'm gonna see how this wears without any powder, whereas you can tell that this is a little bit more mattified. So I'm generally just going to set this side of my face. And so you can see that I'm a lot more mattified versus I have never tried this. Again, this is the Sun Show Moisturizing Baked Bronzer. I have never heard of a powder bronzer being moisturizing, really. This will be interesting. Here's what it looks like. The packaging is divine. It is in the shade 2 medium. They have 3 shades, a light, medium, and deep. This retails for $34. It has a little bit of a sheen to it, which looks like it could be really, really pretty. I'm going to use what I always use, and that is a just big ol' stippling brush. I find that this, oh my gosh. Okay, well, there's a mess in here now. I barely touched it, and I don't know if you can see, but so much just came off. My white sheets are covered in bronzer. I really don't like that. It's just, oh my gosh. I tend to like bronzers where you can be kind of heavy-handed and still not go overboard. I would prefer that over being really light-handed and getting way too much at one time. I'm going to tap this off in my bathroom. I'll be right back. I managed to tap off a little bit, and while I was in the bathroom, I noticed that this is just a little too much coverage for my liking, so I kind of want to try and use my sponge and just wipe some of it off, especially in my freckle area. That's better. I like seeing my face. Okay, so I'm going in with the bronzer. I'm a little nervous. It's really red toned. Very lightly, just, oh, I'm so sad. Oh my gosh. Okay, just gonna pretend like that didn't happen. Jeez Louise. I mean, it doesn't look that bad on camera, but it's just really warm. Also, I don't know if this kind of brush is actually the best because it seems like the taller fibers are like maybe taking up more product. I'm not sure. I'm actually just gonna go in with that same big fluffy brush. Okay, this looks like it might be better. Oh, okay. Oh dear. Yeah. Okay, that is just great. Do you see this? I really wasn't expecting this. That is a shame. I guess it kind of blended out okay. I just feel very like red right now, which, you know, that's some folks' undertones, but it's just not mine. but I think on camera right now it looks okay. Hot mess. Hot mess. Let's keep going. I'm gonna go in with my blush and highlight duo. Just about that. Gently tapping. I will say, okay, that bronzer is an absolute disaster, but it does somehow feel a little bit moisturizing. I really love baked products. I think that they produce some really fantastic finishes on the skin, but I've never had a baked product that was quite that like dusty and volatile. But I do love this cream. I think it would be fantastic if Kosas came out with a cream bronzer. Okay, I think I look flushed enough. Now I'm just gonna go in with the highlight on there too. And just put this right on top. My brow bone. I mean, I already love this product. I can see how this and the concealer and the bronzer and the tinted oil would work together and form a really beautiful natural line. I just like to take any brush and dip it into my bronzer and use that as a eyeshadow. So let's see if that works with this. I can't believe I'm dipping back into this wild thing. I'm scared. I actually really like the look of the bronzer on the eyes, not so much on my face. I will put on the rest of my face and I will be right back. Okay, so I have finished the rest of my face. So I don't think it looks terrible. I think I look kind of like a glowy, natural goddess. I look really tan and healthy. I think my cheeks look really juicy. I actually really like this bronzer as an eyeshadow, but I won't be keeping it just for an eyeshadow. In the end, I don't think that the bronzer looks terrible, but it's just not my vibe that I typically go for. I do think that my pores are a little bit more emphasized with this oil. Let's see how it lasts throughout the day. It is currently 9:28 in the morning. I will check in, let's say 4 hours. All right, I'll see you in a little bit. So here is what it's looking like right now. Here's the side that I didn't set. You can see that oil is definitely building up, peeking through. Right here I have a lot of pores that are extremely visible. This side I did set down initially with some powder. Also my pores are pretty enlarged. But other than that, from far away, it actually looks really nice, so I'm happy about that. I am going to run out of the house for a brief moment. I'm actually going to put a mask on, so we'll also get to see how that wears. Ooh, it's a hot day. I am back from running an errand. I had my mask on for maybe 20 minutes. Perspiration is real. That doesn't normally happen to me, so that's interesting. Maybe not the summer foundation of choice, but I won't speak too soon. Hello everyone. It looks like the mask kind of took off a lot of what I was wearing, and throughout the day it really all has come off. It kind of looks like I'm not wearing anything at this point. It doesn't really seem like the powder preserved the makeup. Maybe on the bronzer side area a little bit. You can see a little bit more bronzer here. But other than that, it just seems like everything has fallen off and it's, you know, only the middle of the day. So I will include all of my thoughts on each of the Kosas products at the end of this video, so stay tuned. Okay, so it's time to do the full face of Ilia. I'm wearing the same shirt and I put on the same necklace, although this is a couple of days later. I just kind of wanted to keep everything as similar as possible without any discrepancies. So I just got these in the mail just now, like an hour ago, so I'm really excited. I'm going to be trying out the True Skin Serum Foundation for the first time, the Nightlite bronzing powder and the multi-stick. I have already tried the True Skin Serum Concealer in a different shade, and I've used that for a year or so now, but I got the shade Yucca SC2 because that seems to be a better match to me right now. So I'm going to be doing the exact same thing as I did in the Kosas video, where I will apply the foundation and use I'll do a brush on this side and a sponge on this side. So here's the packaging for the True Skin Serum Foundation. I am in the shade SF6 Chios. The bottle is so nice and matte. They've repackaged pretty much everything in their line. So I'm just gonna take a little pump on the back of my hand. That looks like a good amount. It does seem a little bit runny, but it doesn't seem as kind of liquidy and runny as the Kosas tinted oil. So as I said before, I'm just gonna take a little, I'll just dab this where it needs to go. Oh my gosh, I didn't put my hair up. There we go. And I'm gonna take my trusty Real Technique sponge. I use the same one in the other video. You can see that it still has a very luminous finish, quite dewy and natural looking. So here's the side with coverage, and here's the side without. You can still see I have my redness and my like acne scar here, redness, and this is just a little bit more evened out. So I'm gonna take one more pump. I did use that entire pump on my face and down my neck. And now I'm going to take it on the same brush that I used in the Kosas video and just see how this goes with the brush. So here's the brush side and here's the sponge side. I think that with this I prefer the sponge. It looks like, you know, the brush did soak up a little bit of product, but I just think that with the kind of more even coverage, I liked it with the sponge. But other than that, it looks really good. It's nice and dewy and healthy, very natural looking, and so I am excited to see how this wears. I'm now gonna go in with the True Skin Serum Concealer, Yucca, and here is the new packaging. Also matching matte tube with the white top. I'm gonna take that. The doe foot applicator is more flat. So right off the bat, I think the shades were actually a really good match for me. I'm glad that I ended up picking up Yucca because it was really good for brightening the center of my face. And everything looks pretty natural, hydrated. I will say that the concealer isn't as hydrating as the Kosas Revealer Concealer. That's just my first impression, but I think everything looks really good and glowy and healthy right now. Okay, so the next product I have used for I think 2 or 3 years. Basically when it was released, I bought it and I love it. This is the Fade Into You Soft Focus Finishing Powder. This is, it's a holy grail for me. I've tried the Laura Mercier powder, the Hourglass Veil powder, and this consistently has just won my heart over and over and over. So I'm just gonna take a simple tapered brush, tap off the excess. It just kind of mattifies where I need it. I'm not gonna set this side of my face just because I wanna see what it wears like without powder. Another thing I'm just realizing is that you can still see my redness around my nose, and so I would say that the Kosas Revealer Concealer actually does have a little bit more coverage and staying power compared to this Ilia one. So as you can see, this side is fairly mattified and this one is still really dewy. Okay, so next I'm gonna go in with the Nightlite bronzing powder in the shade Novelty. I believe they only have 2 shades right now, which is kind of bullshit in my opinion. But I got the darker of the 2 just because the lighter one looked like it would be a little too close to my skin tone. It's a matte bronzer. I'm going to try and use the same brush that I used in the Kosas video just because we know what happened with that bronzer. So I'm just going to take that and go in. It's So it does have quite a bit of kickback, but it's not as bad as the Kosas one. So I'm just going to start warming up my skin again. I already like how this is looking. I will say that I am a little bit surprised how warm toned it is, because in the pan it looks like it would be a little bit more neutral, but it's not as warm as the Kosas bronzer, that's for sure. Okay, so I already really like how that looks. I'm now gonna go in with the multi-stick. This has shea butter, orange peel wax, avocado oil. I got it in the shade I Put a Spell on You. Similar packaging, kind of a matte white. And the color is a really pretty burnt tangerine. It actually comes out really sheer, which is good because I don't need to look like a clown. So I'm just going to take a Real Techniques 405 brush. I use this for blush all the time. I'm just going to take the product from the back of my hand and start applying it onto my cheeks. It just gives me a nice flush, I would say. Do a little bit more. And this time I'm going to try and just swipe and see how that goes. Let's try that first. I think it helps to pat it in with my fingers just to like warm up the product. I'm going to put a little across my nose to get that sunburned look that I love so much. I almost forgot, I got a trial size in the Liquid Light Serum Highlighter in the shade Nova. Here's what that trial size looks like. So it's a really pretty champagne that looks like it can really be sheared out. So I'm just gonna put that at the top of my cheek where I normally would, and in my brow bone. I think that looks so nice and natural and kind of like a glow from within vibe. Okay, so just like I did in the Kosas video, I want to use the bronzer as some eyeshadow. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that and put that in my crease. All right, so here is the finished base. I am going to do the rest of my makeup just like the last video, and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. I put a little lip liner and some gloss, put a little bit more of the concealer in this area just to give it a fair shot, and did some eyeliner and did some brow. And I forgot that I also have the Ilia mascara. This is of course the trial size. It is called the Limitless Lash Mascara, and this is in the shade After Midnight. So I figured I would do that on camera also, so we can see together what this is all about. So the wand has a side with longer bristles for length, and then this side would be for building volume, which is kind of interesting. I'm gonna use the volume side first. That is what the mascara looks like. I actually do like this one. I'm kind of surprised. I do like that you can kind of do the volume with one side and then really lengthen and separate your lashes with the longer bristles on the other side. So might have to continue trying this out. I am now officially done with the rest of my face. I will be trying this out and wearing this for the rest of the day. It's currently 2:56 p.m. so I am starting a little bit later in the day. So here's what it's looking like right now. Pretty radiant and glowy. Not quite the exact same as the Kosas, but I feel like they both have very similar vibes of dewiness and juicy cheeks. But we will see how this wears. Again, it is a very hot day in the LA summer. I hope that this holds up. I'll check in soon. Okay, time for my first check-in. It is now 5:01 p.m. So it's just a couple of hours after I applied. As you can see, things are holding up pretty well. Looks like my bronzer's fading a little bit, and so is the blush, which I'm so sad about because I really love the color of that. But the bronzer on the eyes is holding up really nicely, and there's no flakiness or anything like that. No excess oils. So I'm kind of happy with how it's holding up, but I'll check back in a little bit. Okay, so it is the end of my wear test. It is now about 10 p.m. I'm ready to wash my face. Everything seemed to wear nicely. The bronzer and blush are completely gone, except the bronzer on my eyelid. The concealer under my eyes looks pretty good. Redness around my nose has returned, as well as my chin. This is mustard and mayo from a burger that I just ate. I just didn't want to wipe it because I didn't want to ruin what the makeup looked like before I filmed this. I'll wipe this right after this is over. But the foundation seems to have worn amazingly. Everything else is just so evened out. Still, I would say that it kind of dried down to a more satin finish, and you know, my oils aren't peeking through or anything. So different from the last wear test. Cue future Steph, who has the final thoughts on all of these products in the next clip. And there you have it. So I want to get into what is on my face right now, why it worked for me, which products I used, and why their counterparts weren't the perfect match for me. Alright, so let's talk about foundation. That was kind of an easy choice for me, and the winner was the Ilia True Skin Serum Foundation. I love this for so many reasons, but one of the biggest is that it really does last all day, and now that I've worn it a few days in a row, I can actually attest to that. I love the amount of coverage that it has, the blendability, and just how lightweight it feels. And for the Kosas Tinted Face Oil, while that one was also lightweight and felt so moisturizing and hydrating, it just didn't last all day, and that was my biggest If I'm gonna spend that much money on a foundation, I better be able to wear it for more than 4 or 5 hours. Even with setting powder, it seemed to not do much as oil was still able to peek throughout the day and really quickly. So for that reason, this is not for me. But I do think that it would be great for someone with dry skin. It also looks fantastic in photos, so if you are a makeup artist, I highly recommend you use this. Okay, so let's talk about concealer, and that one was very easy for me, and you probably already know who won, but the winner is the Kosas Revealer Concealer. I just love this stuff. I use it every single day. Like I said, it is so hydrating and nourishing. If you don't set it down with a powder, you can have this beautiful, moisturized, plump look to your skin. I just can't say enough good things about it. It has very good coverage, I would say medium, and it's definitely buildable. And while I still do love the Ilia concealer, it just wasn't hydrating enough for me. It also didn't have as much coverage as the Kosas concealer, and for that reason, it's gotta go. Okay, let's quickly talk about bronzer, and I'm gonna have to pick between two that I don't like that much, but I'm gonna go with the Ilia Nightlite bronzing powder. The only reason why I'm choosing this is because it is matte and it didn't give me as much of a red undertoned product on my face. However, it's still too warm for me. I'm someone that prefers a neutral, sometimes even cool bronzer, and this is just, it's not my shade. The fact that there are only 2 shades and I'm wearing the darkest one is an issue. Ilia, get on it. As you know, with the Kosas bronzer, that was an utter disaster. Way too warm for me, so much kickback, very pricey. Although I would say the packaging on that one is the one that I prefer. I have a feeling that I'm just gonna be returning both. All right, so let's talk about blush. This one was a little bit difficult for me, but I think I've come up with a decision that I'm okay with, and that is a tie. Let's just start with Kosas. I mentioned it in my wear test, but I just love this product. It is so creamy and versatile, and the only thing is that it doesn't last all day. I do wish that it had a little more lasting power, but in the moment your cheeks just get so juicy and luminous and dewy. I'm wearing it on the back end of my cheek, and it's beautiful. It is warm toned, but I love the natural flush that it gives me. As for the Ilia multi-stick, I love how easy this is to use. If I'm really in a rush, I can just swipe this on my face and go and pat it out. It has a really lovely sheer formula that can be built up if you want a little bit more color. It did last longer than my Kosas bronzer. I'm wearing this on the apples of my cheeks just to give a little rosiness to them, but keeping both. All right, finally, let's talk about highlighter, and the winner is Ilia Liquid Light in Nova. I cannot believe that it is beating out my Color and Light duo from Kosas, but alas, this just has the staying power that I've always wanted. It dries down to kind of a powdery finish, but it just looks so natural. The thing that I don't like about the highlighter in my Kosas palette is that it kind of stays a little bit tacky, and so, you know, a hair will get stuck to it, although that finish is a lot more dewy. And I have nothing to compare these last two products to, but I did test out the Ilia mascara as well as their powder. I love both of these. I'm going to try this a little bit more. I used it today and my lashes are really nice and lengthened and voluminous, so I'm gonna test this out. But you know, I can't stress it enough that this powder is just my ride or die. I won't ever switch it out. As soon as it runs out, I'm gonna be getting a new one. I hope that this was informative. I would have loved to have seen a video like this before I made all of my purchases, but in the end, it was actually really fun doing this video of two full faces from very similar but different brands. Leave a comment down below. I would love to know which product intrigues you the most, maybe even what product works for you and why. I will see you all in the next one. Bye.